Should content creators just shut up? Hi, I'm Mike Mason. This is the Immortal Combat Podcast. The Immortal Combat Podcast is the podcast arm of Very Christie. Very Christie is a Catholic lay apostolate devoted to help men attain the full stature of Christ by growing strong in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to learn more about our work, you can check us out online at verychristie.com and stjosephsociety.org. All right, gentlemen, happy Friday to all of you. This is the second Friday of Lent 2026. Hope your guys' fasting, prayer, and almsgiving is off to a great start. I know mine is. A few setbacks here and there, but that's to be expected in the weakness of our fallen nature. But I know for me, the Lord's been gracious with me and merciful as usual. Any fault is my own, and any thing I've been successful with is to His glory. So, and to His credit. So I'm sure that's true for you too. All right. I want to talk about internet, the internet, particularly YouTube, social media, stuff like that. And I want to propose the possibility that content creators should just merely shut up. Now, I'm taking this reflection from chapter 24 of the text we're working through together, right? The Spiritual Combat Treatise on Peace of the Soul. And in this chapter, he talks about how to govern one's speech. And this is kind of some thoughts I've had for a while now that I want to pass on to you for your consideration. Before I launch out, I am not opposed to podcasts. In fact, I like podcasts. I'm not opposed to content creation online. Clearly, if I was, that would be of the height of hypocrisy if I was to hold a position like that because I'm creating content. I think there's content online worth investing time in and even resources, because a lot of these content creators need support and things to do the important good work they're doing. So I'm not opposed to it at all. However, the big however, my own approach to content creation, I'm not putting forward as normative for everyone, but I want you guys to be kind of clear, kind of my mindset when I created these things. I created the St. Joseph Society and Very Christie in order to help men grow in their faith. I created St. Joe's Society because I think the answer to many of the problems in the church today, and particularly in local parishes, the answer lies with the parish priest. And I know parish priests are stretched very thin, but I had a conviction that they are really the men that are going to lead us out of this, not laymen like me. And so what I wanted to do was partner with parish priests, and I wanted to do work on their behalf. I wanted to create content, educational materials, a rule of life for their men, and put the priest in a position that he could lead the groups. Because a lot of priests want to do this work that the priests we partner with do, but they don't have time to spend 4 hours on a 15-minute podcast, which is what it takes for me to put together our Monday reflections. And so I figured, well, I'll do that work because I enjoy it, and it's something I think I'm good at. And then I'm just putting the priest in position to do a good job. This podcast is, and our apostolates are made to do two basic things: help men develop habits for holiness through our rule of life, and to help men know and love God more through theological education. That's it. Why do I make my episodes on Mondays about 15 minutes and make these Fridays 12 to 15 minutes? I don't want you guys sitting on the internet a long time listening to my stuff. The point of our apostolate is that you guys can come on here for a short period of time each week, get some theological formation and hopefully some encouragement, and then you go back into the fight, back into the fray. You go back to your local parish. You go back to your workplace, your local school. You go back to coaching Little League or playing checkers with the old folks at the nursing home. Whatever it is you do to just to be a light for Christ in your life. I don't want you spending tons of time on this so you can do the work, right, of representing Christ in the world and proclaiming the gospel through word and deed in your life, right? So I make these short, and I try to put a lot of time into them, a lot of content into them, so that you guys are so that the 15 or 20 minutes you set aside for this, it's worth your time, okay? That's the thought process behind it. I don't want you spending tons of time consuming our materials online. I don't want that. The goal is to get you back to your real community, your parish, your people, your family, and not to over occupy your time with this sort of stuff. there's a tendency online that the short podcasts are like 45 minutes to an hour. That's a lot per week. If you're busy about doing the tasks that God gave you to do, it's hard to find time to do that sort of stuff. Okay. Some of these podcasts run 3 or 4 hours. The algorithm things are set up so that you'll spend too much time on them. It's highly addictive. Okay. I don't want to contribute to that. And so that's why we make the content the way we do it. Okay. So that's my first thought. Um, Now, is there long form content worthy of listening and watching? Maybe, maybe. Um, but you got to be really discerning what that is. Second, my thought for content creators is this: a lot of it's gossip and a lot of it's scandalous. There is a cottage industry on online Catholic materials to constantly be telling you about the scandalous things in the church, church news, and church politics, and talking about this. And people make lots of money doing this. Now, it's scandalous on a couple fronts. One, I'm not claiming that the church is perfect or that um, bishops or priests or popes don't do things that are scandalous. You just have to read church history to know that that's not the case. Okay. I'm not saying there's not reasons for men who love their faith to be disturbed by some of the things in the news. However, spreading that scandal, you have to be very cautious before you do that. This is not an organization. This is not complaining about your favorite football team and how the front office runs the team. This is the mystical body of Jesus Christ, and we are a family. And if you're going to climb online and trash your family publicly, okay, you better have a really good reason to do so. Now, every person that would feel like a message like this would be attacking, of course, is going to justify why they're doing it. Of course, they're going to do that. Okay. They're going to state some sort of reason why. But one thing I would submit to everybody online: you don't have to share an opinion publicly on every thought that passes through your head. You just don't. It's called gossip and it's scandalous. All of us every day have thoughts pass through our heads that might be true. We don't say publicly. And we definitely don't get on a microphone and pitch it out to the entire world through the internet. The Catholic Church is our family. It's a mystical body of Christ. These are our people. You may not like some of the people or the decisions they make, but this idea that we're going to create a cottage industry complaining about it online to get clicks and to make money, people make their living doing this. It's scandalous, and they're going to lead people to hell. We are not required to say everything that passes through our heads into the public sphere. We're not required to do that. None of us are on any burden whatsoever to climb online, put on a camera and a microphone like this, and just start proclaiming to the world everything we hate about our family. If I had a alcoholic uncle, that might be a problem that has to be dealt with. Do I have to say his name online publicly? It's not good for us spiritually. It's a massive waste of time. And what we should be doing is engaging in spiritual combat to grow in holiness. And what we should be doing is building our local community. That's where our efforts should be going, not listening to podcasts every single day or every other day or 4 hours a week telling us everything that's wrong with the church, everything that's wrong with politics. There are a lot of people who are not making much an impact on their local community at all. Yet they're just, they're the righteous ones because they complain about things online. It's absurd. If a man's taking care of his business completely, okay, if you are serious about being a disciple of Jesus Christ, do that. And then when you complete everything you're supposed to do that, what does that look like? Are you giving time to prayer? Okay. Are you exercising? You have to take care of the body that God gave you. Are you doing your exercise that doctors say we should do each week? Are you cooking healthy meals? Okay. Do you have a life of the mind that you're cultivating, reading and studying? Are you being diligent at work? Okay, giving your employer what he is due. Are you being a good father and husband, being attentive to your family? Are you being a good friend? Are you volunteering and contributing to your community in some way? And I don't care what it is, whatever. They probably need a little league coach. Go do that. Okay. Whatever, just something. If we're taking care of our business, okay, in our state in life and tending to the garden which God planted us, there's not going to be a whole bunch of time left over to gossip. There just isn't. But these content creators create content, okay, that asks us to, that we devote huge amounts of time to considering these things. And frankly, it's scandalous. And frankly, it's going to keep people from growing in holiness. And it's a gigantic distraction. What does Scopoli say on these sorts of things? He says, we must give careful attention to our speech because our tendency to speak on anything that is attractive to our senses. This inclination is rooted in certain pride. Everybody has to hear what I have to say. All the guys online, they think they're, the Catholic Chads, complain about effeminacy and stuff. It's effeminate to think everybody on the internet needs to hear your freaking opinion on everything. Second, he said we could not easily enumerate all the evil consequences arising from uncontrolled speech. In general, here's a few he gives. We lose lots of time. Check. It's a sign of ignorance and shallowness. Uncontrolled speech is a sign of ignorance and shallowness. Third, it's full of detractions and lies. People will respond to things and pass on information before they have the entire story because it's clickbait and it's got to be negative, right? Because negative stories lead. If it leads, okay, people are going to end up lying or they're going to say the wrong things. You think they're going to correct themselves the next day? No. It cools the fervor of devotion. It reinforces disorderly passions. And it establishes a habit of loose and idle talk. Yeah, that's the internet. That's this culture I'm trying to describe. As a method of correcting this, I would suggest the following. Don't talk so much. When people make it their livelihood to gossip online, they can't take this advice. They'll go out of work. Okay, they can't take this advice. They have to speak on the hot button issue. They have to raise their voice and conscience to whatever it is that's going on a half a world away. Okay? They can't take his advice here. We can take this advice. Don't talk so much. We can take this advice. Turn off the internet more often. I never said completely. I'm not being hypocritical. I'm not saying there's not things worth listening to. There's things I listen to when I'm doing the dishes or working in the garage. Granted, I'm not saying you can't do that. No hypocrisy here. But boy, oh boy, a lot of it we need to turn off. It's not edifying. We don't need to know it. Do I need to know this thing? The answer is no in a lot of cases. For me too, Felt. And I'll be clear here. Dude, I don't pass anything on to you guys I'm not considering myself. If this is coming off as impassioned, it's because I'm convicted by this stuff too. Okay. What does he say to talk about? Speak willingly of God and his immense charity for us. So what should we talk about? Talk about God and his charity for us. I remember hearing a quote about St. Dominic, and it said, St. Dominic was noted for only speaking of God and to God. That's how our speech should be marked. I hope the vast majority of the content that we create through our apostolates is to God or about God. Okay. I hope it's the percentage that's just Mike's opinion or whatever is small. But what we're doing is, who is God? How do I know him better? How do I love him better? He says this: silence has a definite value in spiritual warfare. Its observance is an assurance of victory. Generally speaking, it is accompanied by distrust of self and confidence in God, a greater desire for prayer, and a facility in practicing virtue. To arouse yourself in a love of silence, consider the great advantages it offers and the numberless evils that spring from unchecked speaking. Last, and then I'll close because we're bumping up against the end of our time. If you really have in mind at all times the war you have undertaken, you will hardly find time to breathe, much less to throw your energy away in silly, inane conversations. Gentlemen, let me encourage you, and I'm sending this on to you because I'm talking to myself here amongst we brothers who listen to this. Be busy about becoming holy. Be busy about practicing our rule of life. Be busy about growing in the knowledge and love of God. Be busy about fulfilling the duties of your state in life. And then whatever's left after you do all the things that God's asked you to do, then engage in news and talk and podcasts and stuff like that. Guys, the spiritual warfare is real. Our apostolate's here to help you engage in it and to grow in holiness. And God willing, he'll use us for that great purpose. So, guys, keep up the good fight. Practice, carve out silence in your life, and let's grow in holiness together. God bless y'all. I'll see you next time.